If you want to be wealthy and happy, stop living like nothing needs to change. That one truth can flip your whole life around. Because here's what most people never admit. Your habits, your mindset, and your choices are either building your future or wasting it. You can't just hope things get better. You have to act like your future depends on it, because it does. Most people are busy, but they're not growing. They want success, but they don't want to change. And that's the problem. This video is for the person who's ready to get real. No fluff, no sugarcoating, just straight, honest guidance that shows you exactly how to build a life that feels strong, clear, and fulfilling. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait for motivation. You just need to decide. If you're serious about being wealthy and happy, it starts now with what you do next. Chapter 1. Decide what you really want and stop drifting. If you want to be wealthy and happy, the first thing you have to do is stop living by accident. Most people are just getting through their days. They don't know what they truly want. They're busy, but they're not growing. They're moving, but they're not going anywhere. And if you're not careful, years can pass this way. Being active, being occupied, but not being intentional. And if you're not intentional, you drift. And drifting never leads to anything worth having. You have to decide what you really want, not what sounds nice, not what looks good to others, what you want. That's not a light question. That's a heavy one. And it's the starting point of everything. Success doesn't happen to people who are unclear. It doesn't land in your lap while you're wandering through life with no aim. It happens when you say, "This is what I want," and mean it. This decision, this clarity, is where your life begins to change. But most people don't decide. They delay. They distract themselves. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect support. But you don't need perfect. You need honest. You need to get honest with yourself about what truly matters to you. You need to stop living for likes, approval, or comfort, and start living with purpose. You've got to wake up and ask yourself some uncomfortable questions. What am I chasing every day? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Does any of this actually lead to the life I want, or am I just following a routine I didn't choose? You can't create a strong future if your direction is vague. You can't build something meaningful if you're afraid to admit what you want. Wanting something, truly wanting it, is not selfish. It's not arrogant. It's the beginning of responsibility. It means you're ready to stop drifting and start driving. So, what do you want? That's the question. And I don't mean a wish. I don't mean what you hope happens if everything goes your way. I mean, what outcome are you willing to shape your life around? What matters to you so much that you're willing to make sacrifices for it? Most people never answer that question. They keep themselves busy with temporary things. They try to look productive. They stay busy enough to avoid the truth. But here's the truth. If you don't decide what you want, life will hand you what's left. And most of the time, what's left is not what you wanted. Clarity changes everything. When you know what you want, your decisions start making sense. You start saying no to things that don't align. You stop wasting your energy on distractions. You stop being so emotional about things that don't deserve your time. Your schedule starts to reflect your values. Your actions begin to reflect your vision. But it all starts with deciding. If you want to be wealthy, define what wealth means to you. Is it money? Is it freedom? Is it time with your family? Is it having options? Whatever it is, get clear about it. Don't let anyone else define it for you. And if you want to be happy, you've got to know what brings you peace, not just pleasure. They're not the same. A lot of people chase pleasure and call it happiness, but real happiness is rooted in growth, in contribution, in becoming who you were meant to be. But you can't do any of that if you don't know what you're aiming at. You'll just keep moving in circles. You'll keep comparing yourself to others. You'll feel behind even if you're doing well because you never defined your own target. It's not enough to want more. More of what? It's not enough to want better. Better in what way? If you're serious about building a life that fulfills you, you've got to stop being vague. Vague goals lead to vague effort. Vague effort leads to weak results, and weak results lead to disappointment. That's not the life you want. So, how do you decide what you really want? First, slow down. Stop distracting yourself. Get quiet. Ask yourself, if nothing stood in my way, what would I do with this life? And then write it down. Don't judge it. Don't edit it. Just write it down. Then look at it and ask, am I living in a way that makes this possible? If not, it's time to adjust. Second, be specific. If you want financial freedom, what does that mean in numbers? If you want peace, what does that look like in your day? If you want to grow, what skills do you want to learn? Specific goals lead to specific actions. Third, get real about what it will take. Wanting is easy. Doing is where most people stop. There's always a price for what you want. The question is, are you willing to pay it? Are you willing to be disciplined? Are you willing to delay gratification? Are you willing to say no to short-term pleasure for long-term meaning? Fourth, take ownership. If your life doesn't reflect what you want, don't blame anyone. Don't blame your past. Don't blame people. Don't blame luck. Just take control. This is your life. It's on you now. And the good news is, the moment you take full ownership, your power returns. You stop waiting, and you start building. Now understand this. You don't need to know every step. You don't need the full blueprint. You just need a strong reason and the first step. Life opens up as you move. Clarity grows through action. The more you move toward what matters, the more you understand it. The more you delay, the more confused you'll feel. Don't wait for motivation. Motivation comes after movement. Don't wait to feel ready. You'll feel ready after you start. Your brain wants comfort, but your soul wants growth. And wealth and happiness are built by people who choose growth daily. Not when it's easy, not when it's convenient, but daily. It's time to stop drifting through your days. No more someday. No more hoping your life just magically gets better. You've got to wake up and choose to live with purpose. You've got to decide what matters and build your life around it. Even if it's hard, even if it's slow, even if no one claps for you. The truth is, most people won't understand your path. That's okay. It's not their path. It's yours. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing your future over your comfort. You just owe it to yourself to follow through, because the cost of drifting is too high. The cost of living without direction is your potential. And that's not a price you should ever pay. Wealth and happiness don't come from luck. They come from clarity. They come from commitment. They come from refusing to waste this one life you've been given. So ask yourself right now, what do I truly want? And when you answer it, don't let it just sit in your mind. Turn it into a decision you honor every single day, a decision that changes how you act, a decision that pulls you forward even when you're tired. Because the moment you decide, really decide, you stop drifting. And that's the moment your new life begins. Chapter 2. Face the truth you've been avoiding too long. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you've got to stop running from the truth that's been following you around, not the truth other people tell you, the one that lives inside you, the one you already know but keep ignoring, the one that shows up when everything is quiet and you've got no distractions left. That truth isn't here to hurt you. It's here to wake you up. But the longer you avoid it, the more it controls your life without you even realizing it. Most people spend years building a life around avoiding certain truths. They work jobs they don't like. They stay in situations they've outgrown. They keep habits that make them weak. And deep down, they know. They know something isn't right. They know they're not where they should be. But instead of facing it, they cover it up with noise, entertainment, food, scrolling, talking, shopping, or blaming someone else. Anything but looking in the mirror and saying, "This isn't working." Avoiding the truth doesn't protect you. It delays the pain, but it doesn't erase it. And eventually, it catches up in your health, in your relationships, in your mindset, in your income. You start to feel stuck. But the truth is, you're not stuck. You're just avoiding the one thing that would move you forward. Facing what you don't want to admit. Facing the truth takes courage. Not because the truth is cruel, but because it demands change. It won't let you stay where you are. It won't let you keep blaming other people. It won't let you hide behind excuses. It calls you out. It asks more from you. And that's why people run from it. Not because they don't see it, but because they don't want to deal with what it asks them to do next. But here's the reality. Until you face the truth, you're living in denial. You're building on a shaky foundation. No matter how hard you work, something always feels off. You keep making progress, but it never feels like enough. You chase success, but deep down, you're afraid of what you'll find if you slow down. So, you keep moving just fast enough to avoid thinking about it. And that's the trap. You get so good at being busy that you convince yourself you're doing fine. But being busy isn't the same as being honest. You can be busy and still be off course. You can be productive and still be avoiding something that matters. And if you want real growth, real happiness, real wealth, it starts by standing still long enough to ask, what truth am I avoiding? That truth could be anything. Maybe you're not putting in the effort you know you should. Maybe you're holding on to bitterness that's poisoning your spirit. Maybe you're lying to yourself about how you spend your time. Maybe you're afraid to start over, so you settle for less. Maybe you say you want success, but you avoid the discipline that comes with it. You know what your truth is. Nobody has to tell you. You've felt it for a long time. You've just buried it under layers of distraction. But no more hiding. Not if you're serious about changing your life. Not if you're tired of faking it. There comes a point where you've got to stop pretending. You've got to stop telling yourself it's okay when it's not. You've got to stop smiling through frustration and calling it patience. You've got to stop settling and labeling it gratitude. You can be grateful and still know something's got to change. And here's what's powerful. Once you face the truth, everything starts to shift. Not overnight, but instantly you start making decisions that align with reality. You stop lying to yourself. You stop chasing things that don't belong to you. You stop tolerating what drains you. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop wasting time. You stop playing small. And instead, you start becoming someone honest, strong, and clear. That kind of honesty is rare. That's why it's powerful. It separates people. Most want the appearance of success, not the truth that leads to it. They want comfort, not clarity. But comfort without clarity is a trap. You get older, but not wiser. You gain things, but lose yourself. And one day, you wake up and wonder where your life went. It's hard to focus. You gain things, but lose yourself. And one day, you wake up and wonder where your life went. However, one day you wake up and wonder where your life went. Don't wait for that day. Face the truth now. Face the truth about your health. Are you taking care of yourself, or are you hoping problems will go away on their own? Face the truth about your money. Are you spending on things that matter, or are you wasting it to feel good in the moment? Face the truth about your relationships. Are they lifting you up or slowly pulling you down? Face the truth about your habits. Are they helping you grow or keeping you trapped? And face the truth about your mindset. Do you push yourself to think better or just react to everything around you? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary because whatever truth you're avoiding is costing you more than you think. It's draining your energy. It's limiting your progress. It's keeping you small. And you don't have to live like that. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to outgrow your past. You're allowed to admit that you've been wrong. That's not weakness. That's power. There's something freeing about saying, I'm not doing this anymore. Not out of anger, not out of fear, but out of clarity, out of growth, out of the decision to live a better life. And that's what happens when you face the truth. You stop trying to keep everything the same. You stop pretending you're okay with things you're not okay with. You stop holding yourself back just to make other people comfortable. You become honest not just with others, with yourself. That honesty brings peace. It brings strength because you're no longer running. You're no longer wasting energy hiding from what you already know. You're free. And when you're free, you can grow. That growth is what leads to wealth and happiness, not the kind you post about, the kind you feel when you look in the mirror and know you're not pretending anymore. The kind that comes when your actions finally match your values, when your words line up with your behavior, when your life reflects what you really believe. But it starts with a hard moment, a quiet one, a real one, where you sit down with yourself and say, it's time to stop lying. Because there's no breakthrough without truth. There's no healing without truth. There's no future without truth. You can keep avoiding it, but it's not going anywhere. It will wait. It will show up in your stress, in your frustration, in your exhaustion, until you decide to face it. And when you do, when you finally stop running, you'll feel something you haven't felt in a long time, relief. Relief that you're finally being real, that you're finally taking control, that you're no longer building your life on things that don't matter. And that's when real success begins. That's when real happiness shows up, when you stop running from the truth and start building with it. Chapter 3. Break the habits that keep you stuck inside. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you have to be willing to break the habits that are holding you back. Not the obvious bad habits everyone talks about. I'm talking about the subtle ones. The patterns you've repeated for so long, they feel like part of your personality. The ones you defend. The ones you make excuses for. The ones you fall into when no one is watching. Those habits are the silent chains that keep you from becoming the person you were meant to be. Habits are not just routines, they're repeated choices that shape your identity. Every day you are becoming someone by what you do, not what you intend. You can tell yourself you want change. You can say you want a better life. But if your habits don't match your words, nothing will move. There's no breakthrough without behavior change. There's no success without consistent action. And there's no freedom if your daily habits are built around comfort, not growth. Look at your life. Look at your mornings. Look at your nights. Look at what you do when you're bored, tired, anxious, or unsure. That's where your habits live. That's where your patterns show up. And that's where most people stay stuck. They keep doing the same things, expecting different outcomes. They scroll too much, sleep too late, complain too often, say yes to everything, eat whatever feels good, delay hard tasks, and waste hours numbing their discomfort. Then they wonder why they feel behind, drained, or unfulfilled. The truth is, you already know which habits are hurting you. You've felt the consequences. You've seen the missed opportunities. You've experienced the frustration. You've told yourself you'll stop, maybe even started to, but somewhere along the way, you return to the old pattern. Not because you're weak, but because the habit is familiar. And what's familiar is easy to repeat, even when it costs you your potential. To break these habits, you don't need to wait for a dramatic event. You don't need to hit rock bottom. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to decide that your current behavior no longer matches the person you want to become. That decision is powerful because once you make it, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop saying just one more time. You stop looking for motivation to change. You start acting from commitment, not emotion. It won't feel easy. Change never does. But don't confuse discomfort with failure. The first few days of breaking a habit will feel uncomfortable. You'll feel pulled to go back. You'll feel the tension between the old version of you and the one you're becoming. That's normal. That's part of growth. But the discomfort passes. The strength stays. You must be aware of how you justify bad habits. Pay attention to your inner talk. Listen to the stories you tell yourself when you avoid action. Maybe you say, "I deserve to rest when you've been lazy all day." Maybe you say, "I deserve to rest when you've been lazy all day." Maybe you say, "I'll do it later," and never come back to it. Maybe you tell yourself, "It's not that bad." But the truth is, anything that blocks your progress, no matter how small, is something you must confront. Not someday. Now, start small, but stay serious. Don't try to fix everything at once. Choose one habit that you know is keeping you stuck. Replace it with a behavior that pushes you forward. If you waste time in the morning, build a morning plan. If you delay important work, set a timer and start with 10 minutes of deep focus. If you eat without thinking, prepare your meals with intention. Every time you act differently, you break the old pattern a little more. It's not about perfection. It's about repetition. And here's something most people overlook. Your environment matters. If your space is filled with distractions, it's easy to fall back into old habits. If your friends normalize laziness, you'll feel like discipline is weird. You can't grow in a place that constantly reminds you of who you used to be. So, change your surroundings, clean your space, limit your time with people who aren't serious about life. Create a setting that supports who you want to become, not who you were. Also, track your progress. Write down what you're working to change. Note the triggers that lead you into old patterns. Track your wins, even the small ones. Awareness leads to control. If you don't know what's happening, you can't improve it. But once you see it clearly, you can take responsibility for it. That's how you take your power back from your habits, your past, your patterns, and your excuses. Sometimes breaking habits will feel lonely. That's because you're stepping out of what's common. Most people live inside their habits forever. They adjust to them. They defend them. They build a life around their limitations. But you're choosing to live on purpose. You're choosing to do what most won't, so you can live how most never will. That path is harder, but it's real, and it leads to a life that feels honest, earned, and fulfilling. Understand that the habit itself is not the only problem. It's what the habit prevents you from becoming. It's the time it steals. It's the confidence it breaks. It's the goals it delays. It's the life it keeps just out of reach. When you see that change becomes urgent, not a nice idea, a necessity. You don't need anyone's permission to change. You don't need everyone to understand. You just need to care enough about your future to do what's uncomfortable now. There will be days you don't feel like it. Days you want to go back. Days you think the change isn't working. But every day you keep going, you're proving to yourself that you are stronger than your habits. And once you believe that, you become unstoppable. Wealth and happiness don't come from what you say you'll do. They come from what you repeat without thinking. If you want better results, build better reflexes. Make excellence automatic. Make discipline part of your identity. Make growth the default. So, take an honest look at yourself. What's the habit you've been tolerating for too long? What's the behavior you keep falling into even though it holds you back? Stop protecting it. Stop explaining it. Break it. You're not stuck. You've just been repeating too much of the same. It's time to do different. Time to live different. Time to be different. The life you want doesn't sit on top of the habits you have. You have to tear down what no longer fits. You have to replace what's comfortable with what's useful. You have to rebuild your days around actions that align with your goals. That's how you stop being stuck. That's how you get momentum. That's how you become free. Don't wait until it's too late to realize that your habits are either helping you rise or pulling you under. The choice is always yours. You can keep doing what's easy and stay where you are, or you can do what's necessary and move forward. No one can do it for you. No one is coming to save you. It's on you now. And that's a good thing, because once you break those habits, no one can take that growth from you. This is your time. Not to be perfect, not to have everything figured out, but to finally break free. To rise above who you were, to become the kind of person whose life reflects strength, purpose, and progress. The day you stop living by habit and start living by choice is the day everything changes. Not just your results, but your mindset, your energy, your future. And all it takes is the decision to stop staying stuck. Chapter 4. Train your brain to stop chasing quick rewards. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you have to stop chasing things that give you fast relief but leave you empty. Your brain has been trained, whether you know it or not, to go after quick rewards. And these quick rewards come in many forms. Scrolling through social media, checking your phone every 5 minutes, eating something sweet instead of cooking something healthy, skipping the work and seeking the praise anyway, looking for comfort instead of building real strength. This pattern is not just a bad habit, it's a mindset, and if you don't break it, it will quietly destroy your future. Your mind is built to seek pleasure and avoid pain. That's how we're wired. The problem is, in today's world, pleasure is everywhere. It's in your pocket, in your fridge, on your screen, around every corner. And it comes with no effort. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to wait. You don't need to grow. You just need to want it. And it shows up. And that kind of system ruins your ability to delay gratification, which is one of the most important skills you'll ever build. Every time you reach for something just to feel good now, you're reinforcing a message to your brain. Comfort matters more than progress. You might not say those words, but that's the signal you send. And your brain learns fast. It starts to expect ease. It starts to expect excitement. It starts to resist anything that takes time, patience, or effort. And when that happens, you'll find yourself bored with what actually matters: your work, your health, your goals, your long-term vision, because they don't offer instant results. That boredom is not a problem with your goals. It's a problem with your brain being overstimulated. Training your brain to stop chasing quick rewards starts by becoming aware of how often you give in. It could be something small, like checking your phone in the middle of an important task. It could be something bigger, like spending money on things you don't need to feel better for a moment. It could be wasting a whole day avoiding the one thing that actually needs to get done. These moments might seem harmless, but they add up, and they rewire your brain to expect shortcuts instead of building resilience. You have to unlearn that pattern. You have to retrain your brain to see value in the long game. You do that by doing what's hard over and over until it becomes normal. When you choose to stay with the discomfort instead of escaping it, you're teaching your brain that you are in control, that your life is not ruled by urges or impulses, that you can think beyond the moment. This isn't about becoming cold or robotic. It's about becoming disciplined. It's about choosing to do what's right over what's easy. Because success is not built in one big moment. It's built in thousands of tiny choices when nobody's watching. It's built in those small spaces where you decide to either distract yourself or stay present, to give in or get better, to delay gratification or demand it now. You will not be wealthy and happy if your brain always looks for the fastest way to feel good, because the fastest path is rarely the right one. Real wealth comes from sustained effort. Real happiness comes from deep work and meaningful achievement, and neither of those happen by accident. Start retraining your brain by practicing self-restraint. When you feel the urge to check your phone, pause. When you want to quit your task halfway through, finish it. When you crave something that gives you a quick dopamine hit, stop and ask, will this help me tomorrow or just entertain me now? These small moments are where discipline is built, and the more often you win them, the stronger your mind becomes. You can also reshape your thinking by changing what you measure. Most people measure their day by how much comfort or excitement they had. That's why they chase entertainment, not growth. Instead, measure your day by how often you kept your word to yourself. Did you do what you said you would do? Did you make progress even if no one saw it? Did you stay focused when it was easier to quit? These are the metrics that build a strong mind. These are the wins that create a fulfilling life. Understand that delaying gratification doesn't mean you never enjoy anything. It means you stop letting your feelings run the show. You start choosing your future over your feelings. You start prioritizing what builds you, not just what soothes you. And that shift makes all the difference. You'll begin to notice something powerful. As you say no to the easy things, your ability to focus improves. Your energy stabilizes, your emotions become clearer, your thinking sharpens, and your goals start feeling more possible because your habits stop getting in the way. This is not about suffering, it's about strength. It's about giving yourself the ability to build something lasting, something real. The hardest part of this process is staying consistent when you're not getting instant results. That's where most people fall off. They try a new habit, but when it doesn't make them feel amazing right away, they stop. That's not discipline. That's dependency on reward. If you want to be different, you have to act different. You have to stick with the process even when it's boring, quiet, or slow, because that's where transformation lives. You also need to protect your environment. If you surround yourself with constant noise, stimulation, and instant gratification, you're making it harder to think clearly. You're setting yourself up to chase distractions. Simplify your space. Limit your access to things that make you impulsive. Build systems that make the right choice easier to make. And most of all, be honest with yourself. Don't pretend you're working hard if you're always looking for shortcut. Don't tell yourself you're serious about your future. If you keep sacrificing it for short-term comfort, that honesty is tough, but it's necessary because once you face it, you can start changing it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional. You need to stop waiting for motivation and start acting from a place of clarity. Train your brain to enjoy progress more than pleasure. Train your brain to value focus over fun. Train your brain to respect the long-term reward over the quick hit. That's how you win in the real world. People who succeed at the highest levels don't always feel good. They don't chase dopamine all day. They sit in silence and do the work. They resist urges. They sacrifice comfort, and they stay with the process. That's why they're rare. That's why they're respected. That's why their success lasts. You're not here to feel good all the time. You're here to grow. You're here to lead yourself. You're here to make the most of your time and talents. That doesn't happen when your attention is scattered. It happens when you take control of what your brain craves. So, take back control. Choose your focus. Strengthen your willpower. Delay the reward. And in doing that, build the kind of mind that can create real success. Not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. Chapter 5. Build discipline even when no one's watching you. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you have to build discipline when no one's around. Not when the camera is on, not when people are watching, not when someone is clapping for you. The real work happens in silence. In private, in the quiet hours where there's no applause, no recognition, no validation, just you, your choices, and your future being shaped moment by moment. Most people only show up when there's something in it for them. They're disciplined when it's convenient, when it looks good, when someone else is checking. But the problem with that kind of discipline is that it's shallow. It doesn't last. It depends too much on outside pressure. So the minute the audience disappears, so does the effort. And nothing meaningful can be built that way. The people who build something great, whether it's their mindset, their income, their health, or their life, they do it behind closed doors. They wake up early without being told. They practice when nobody's cheering. They keep going when the excitement fades because they know something simple and powerful. Discipline is not what you show others. It's what you demand of yourself. You don't become disciplined by talking about discipline. You become disciplined by doing the hard thing, even when no one will see the result right away. That's where character is developed. That's where strength is born. It's not about how you act when you're motivated. It's about what you do when you're tired, stressed, bored, or tempted to take the easy way out. Discipline is built in the small decision. It's built when you get up on time, even if the bed is warm. When you finish the task, even if no one's checking. When you eat clean, even when no one's around to judge. When you study, even when no deadline is pressing. When you choose to keep a promise to yourself, even if no one would know you broke it. That's the real training. That's where your edge comes from. It's easy to pretend in front of others. That's not impressive. What's impressive is showing up when no one knows, because that's real. That's honest. That's what separates winners from talkers. And if you want to be different, if you want to live a life that feels free, powerful, and full, you've got to train yourself to be reliable, not just when it's obvious, but when it's invisible. That's the test. Can you do the work with no prey? Can you stay consistent when there's no reward yet? Can you push forward when no one's giving you energy? Because that's what wealth requires. That's what real success demands. It's not built on hype. It's built on habits. Not sometimes, all the time. And here's the part people overlook. Discipline feels lonely at first. Not many people choose this path. You'll watch others take shortcuts, relax more, cut corners, enjoy temporary ease, and you might feel like you're missing out. But over time, you'll start to see the difference. While they chase moments, you build a future while they drift. You rise while they explain. You execute. And when the results start showing, you'll be living what they only wish for. You've got to choose delayed strength over instant comfort. That's not natural. That's train. And it starts with how you treat your own time, energy, and values. You build discipline. When you refuse to break your own rules, when you stop lying to yourself, when you follow through, not for them, but for you. People say they want freedom, but they act like they want escape. Real freedom is the result of discipline. It's knowing that you can trust yourself, that you can count on your effort, that you can walk into any room, any situation, any season of life, and know you've prepared. That's not arrogance. That's earned confidence. And it's only possible when you've done the work no one else sees. This is not about grinding until you burn out. It's about showing up with purpose. It's about choosing excellence in how you live daily. Discipline isn't intensity for a day. It's consistency over time. It's not about having perfect routines. It's about not giving up when things break down. It's about holding yourself together. Even when the world is falling apart, you need to stop waiting for perfect conditions. They won't come if you only act when it feels good. You'll never be consistent. You need to act from principle, not just from passion. Some days you won't feel like it. That's fine. You do it anyway. Some days your mind will try to talk you out of it. Don't negotiate with laziness. Don't argue with your weaker self. Just do what needs to be done. When you train discipline, you stop living based on moods. You stop being tossed around by every feeling. You become steady, and that steadiness becomes your strength. People notice opportunities come, but even if they didn't, you'd still be proud because you know you didn't take the easy way out. That pride is powerful. That's the foundation of peace. You've got to lead yourself. No one else can do it for you. You can borrow inspiration, but you can't borrow discipline that's built alone. That's why most people don't have it, because they think someone will push them forever. They think pressure will always come from the outside. But the real power is when pressure comes from within. When you raise your own standard, hold yourself accountable, and refuse to lower your bar just because it's hard. You have to be strict with yourself when it counts. Not cruel strict. There's a difference. Strict means you care enough to say no to weakness. Strict means you protect your goals from your excuses. Strict means you take your life seriously. There will be moments when no one texts to check on you. No one claps when you win quietly. No one sees the effort you put in behind the scenes. And that's exactly when discipline matters most. Because those moments shape who you are. They reveal your real drive. And if you can stay strong when it's quiet, you'll be unstoppable when it's loud. You don't need a perfect schedule. You don't need a fancy routine. You just need one rule. Show up every day. No matter how you feel. Adjust if you must, but don't disappear. Rest if you need, but don't retreat. Stay in the fight. Keep your promise. That's discipline. That's how you grow into someone you can trust. And once you trust yourself, everything else changes. You stop relying on outside motivation. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop needing other people to validate your work because you already know you showed up. You stayed with it. You earned your own respect. That respect builds something deep, something quiet, but solid. And that's what creates wealth. That's what creates lasting happiness. Not the momentary highs, not the quick win, but the life you build by showing up again and again when nobody's clapping and nobody's watching. Discipline is not a trait you're born with. It's a choice you make every single day. And it gets stronger every time you act in alignment with your values instead of your feeling. If you can master that, if you can stay steady when the world is noisy, you'll always have an edge. You'll always find your way. So, no more waiting for someone else to keep you on track. No more pretending you're serious when you only act when it's easy. This is your life. And every day, you stay committed in silence. You're shaping a future that will speak loudly. You're not just building habits. You're building a person. A person who doesn't fold. A person who doesn't flinch. A person who leads from the inside. And that kind of discipline built in quiet, proven in pressure, and consistent in every season is what will carry you to a life of real strength, real freedom, and real fulfillment. Chapter 6. Say exactly what you need without feeling guilty. If you want to be wealthy and happy, you have to learn how to speak clearly about what you need without feeling like you're doing something wrong. So many people struggle in silence, not because they don't know what's missing in their life, but because they're afraid to ask for it. They're afraid someone will judge them. They're afraid they'll be misunderstood. They're afraid of looking selfish. So, they stay quiet. They settle. They give more than they should. They hold back until resentment builds. And even then, they still don't speak up. Living that way keeps you small. It keeps you frustrated, and it disconnects you from who you really are. You can't grow into your potential while constantly holding your voice inside. You can't live with peace while carrying the weight of unspoken needs. You weren't made to live in silence. You were made to live in truth. And truth begins with learning to say what matters to you honestly and directly. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be loud. But you do have to be real. You have to be willing to say, "This is what I need right now," and mean it. That takes strength. It takes clarity. And most of all, it takes self-respect. When you avoid asking for what you need, you don't protect relationships. You weaken them. Because every time you stay silent to avoid conflict, you create distance. You let the other person believe everything is fine while you're struggling inside. That's not kindness. That's fear. And fear creates fake peace. It looks calm on the outside, but inside you're frustrated, disappointed, and disconnected. You teach people how to treat you by what you accept. If you keep tolerating less than what you need, people will assume you're fine with it, and they'll keep giving you less. Not out of malice, but because you never gave them a chance to do better. You never told them what you actually needed. You can't expect people to read your mind. You can't wait for someone to guess what's hurting you. You have to speak. Sometimes the reason you don't ask is because you don't think your needs matter. Somewhere along the way, you were told to keep everyone else happy. You were told that your value comes from how much you give, not how honest you are. And now when you try to speak up, you feel guilty. You think you're doing something wrong by simply being clear, but you're not. Needing something does not make you weak. Saying it does not make you selfish. It makes you healthy. It makes you real. It makes you strong enough to live in alignment with your truth. That's where freedom starts. It doesn't matter if it's a conversation with a friend, a partner, a boss, or yourself. You owe it to your own growth to stop hiding behind politeness. There's a difference between being kind and being dishonest. And when you don't say what you truly need, you end up carrying pain that was never meant to be yours in the first place. You don't have to yell to be heard. You don't have to demand to be respected. You just need to speak with honesty and calm. I need more time to myself. I need space to think. I need help with this responsibility. I need you to listen without interrupting. I need to rest before I take on more. These are not outrageous statements. They're simple. They're real. They're human. If your needs make someone uncomfortable, that's their process to work through. Your job is not to shrink, so others feel better. Your job is to be truthful, so you can live a full life. And when you start doing this consistently, something powerful happens. You stop apologizing for being a real person. You stop hiding behind forced smiles. You stop pretending to be fine. You stop bottling up every thought. And in that space, your relationships grow. Your confidence grows. Your peace grows. Because now you're no longer abandoning yourself just to avoid someone else's reaction. Don't confuse guilt with growth. Just because something feels unfamiliar doesn't mean it's wrong. You've been trained to believe that putting yourself first is selfish. But there's a difference between being selfish and being self-aware. Selfish people take without caring how it affects others. Self-aware people speak up so they can show up better for others without running on empty. If you keep giving what you don't have, you'll burn out. If you keep saying yes when you mean no, you'll live with quiet resentment. And if you keep hiding what you need, you'll never feel deeply seen. You deserve better than that. But you have to be willing to go first. You have to speak before you're fully confident. You have to ask before you're sure how they'll respond. That's courage. That's how you build your strength. It's not your job to manage how everyone reacts. It's your job to be honest with yourself and speak from that place. The right people will appreciate it. The wrong ones will resist. But either way, you'll know where you stand. And knowing where you stand is far better than constantly guessing or pretending. If you want to build a life that's full of purpose, clarity, and real connection, it starts with saying what matters. Not just once, not just when things break down, but as a regular practice. You speak when something feels off. You speak before it turns into anger. You speak before you disconnect. That's how you stay honest. That's how you stay free. No more saying it's fine when it's not. No more holding everything in and calling it strength. No more smiling through frustration. Speak. You're allowed to need more support. You're allowed to ask for clearer boundaries. You're allowed to express when something hurts. That doesn't make you needy. It makes you emotionally intelligent. And here's the truth. People who genuinely care about you want to know. They don't want you pretending. They don't want a version of you that's always filtered. They want to understand what's going on so they can respond with respect. But you have to let them in. You have to trust that your voice has value. You don't need to justify every word. You don't need a long explanation for being honest. You can speak simply, calmly, and directly. Not everyone will agree with you. Not everyone will understand. But clarity is better than comfort, because clarity brings alignment, and alignment brings peace. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to be honest. Stop waiting to be more confident. Stop waiting for permission. You are already enough to speak up. You are already qualified to ask for what you need, and you are already strong enough to handle what happens after you do. This isn't about being pushy. It's about being clear. You're not trying to control anyone else. You're choosing to live with integrity. You're choosing to stop hiding. You're choosing to be true to yourself, even if your voice shakes at first. And once you do that, something powerful changes. You start trusting yourself more. You stop second-guessing every feeling. You stop over-explaining. You start walking into conversations with calm and confident. And that energy carries over into every area of your life. You become a better leader, a better partner, a better friend. Not because you say the perfect things, but because you say the real things. That's what builds trust. That's what creates growth. That's what sets you free. So from this point forward, give yourself full permission to speak clearly, to be direct without being harsh, to ask for what you need without guilt, to be who you are without apology, because your life gets better every time you choose truth over silence. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. The future you want begins when you stop hiding the real you. Say what matters. Say it clearly. Say it without guilt. That's how you begin to live with strength, purpose, and peace. That's how you build the life you've been searching for. Chapter 7. Take control of your mood before it controls you. Most people don't realize how much their emotions control their life until it's already caused damage. They don't stop to ask whether their reaction was helpful. They don't pause to check whether their feelings match the situation. They let a bad mood turn into a bad decision. They let stress bleed into their relationships. They carry frustration from one hour to the next, and it piles up until even the smallest thing sets them off. And the worst part is, they think it's normal. You don't need to ignore your emotions to grow. You need to understand them. You need to take responsibility for them, because the truth is, if you don't learn to manage how you feel, your feelings will start managing you. And when that happens, you lose control not just of your mood, but of your entire direction. Your day gets hijacked. Your conversations get tainted. Your performance drops. Your thoughts spiral. And everything that could have been handled with clarity turns into chaos. Emotions aren't the enemy. They're signals. They show up to tell you something, but it's your job to decide what to do with them. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you should act on it. Just because your mind is racing doesn't mean the thought is true. And just because your mood shifts doesn't mean you're stuck in it. You have more power than that. You just have to take it back. Start by recognizing your emotional patterns. Pay attention to the moments that trigger you. Notice what types of situations put you in a bad mood. Is it when plans change? When people don't respond the way you expect? when things feel uncertain, when you feel unseen or unheard. Once you notice the triggers, you can start interrupting the reaction. Taking control doesn't mean pretending you don't feel anything. It means pausing long enough to respond instead of react. It means learning to sit with your feelings without letting them take over. That pause is powerful. It gives you time to think clearly. It gives you space to choose a better response. It gives you the chance to act from wisdom instead of impulse. You don't rise in life by being reactive. You rise by staying steady when most people lose it. You rise by learning how to protect your peace even when everything around you is noisy. You rise by staying grounded when your mind tries to pull you into panic, blame, or self-doubt. And that kind of stability isn't something you're born with. It's trained. One way to build it is through self-awareness. When you start your day, check in with yourself. Ask, how am I feeling right now? Not to label yourself, but to take charge of the state you're in. If you wake up frustrated, don't carry that frustration into your work. If you feel anxious, don't let that anxiety shape how you treat others. Acknowledge it, understand it, then shift it. Do what needs to be done to move into a stronger mindset. Sometimes that means moving your body. Sometimes it means stepping away for a moment. Sometimes it means reframing your thoughts. Sometimes it means asking, is this really worth being upset about? Taking control doesn't require perfection. It requires effort. It requires you to stop blaming other people for how you feel and start doing something about it. When you start owning your emotional state, you stop depending on everything around you to be perfect. You stop needing people to act a certain way for you to stay calm. You stop hoping the day will go smooth in order for you to feel good. You shift from being emotionally fragile to being emotionally strong. And that strength opens up every part of your life. It improves your relationships because you don't bring your bad day into someone else's. It improves your focus because your energy isn't tied up in what went wrong. It improves your leadership because people trust someone who stays steady. And it improves your peace because you're no longer living at the mercy of every emotion that passes through your mind. The goal isn't to be emotionless. The goal is to become emotionally intelligent, to know what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, and how to shift it if it's not helping you. That's power. That's freedom. That's maturity. And it's one of the most important skills you'll ever build. No one can do this for you. You can't rely on the world to stay calm so that you can stay calm. You can't wait for life to feel easy before you take responsibility for your state. You have to build that discipline on your own. You have to decide that your peace matters more than being right, that your energy is too valuable to waste on things you can't control, that your growth matters more than your reaction. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to stay calm when things go wrong. It's hard to think straight when you're under pressure. It's hard to stay present when your emotions want to pull you into the past or the future. But that's why it's worth doing, because the harder it is to do, the more it separates you from the crowd. Most people never master this. They live in cycles of overreaction. They make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. They ruin opportunities because they couldn't hold their tongue. They hurt relationships because they couldn't take a breath. They sabotage their own progress because they let a bad moment shape the whole day. But you're not here to live like that. You're here to be in control, not of everything around you, but of what's inside you. That's where real freedom comes from. That's where leadership begins. That's how you become someone others can count on. Someone you can count on. So the next time you feel that wave of emotion rising, pause. Ask yourself, what's the best response? Not the fastest, not the loudest, not the one that makes you feel good for 5 seconds, but the one that moves your life forward, the one that makes you proud later, the one that reflects who you really want to be. With practice, that pause gets easier. That awareness gets sharp. You'll start catching yourself before the mood controls you. You'll start noticing the thought that triggers the feeling. And instead of being dragged by it, you'll step around it. That's control. That's growth. Every day gives you a chance to practice this in traffic, in conversation, in challenges, in stress. Don't waste those moments. Use them. Use them to train your mind. Use them to become steady. Use them to build a calm strength that nothing can shake. Because the more you train this, the less you'll need life to go your way in order to feel okay. You'll be okay because you chose to be, because you decided your mood was your job, because you refused to let small things decide how your day goes. That's the mindset that builds real success. That's the foundation for happiness that doesn't break under pressure. And that's how you lead yourself with purpose even in chaos. So every time you feel that inner pull to react, pause, take a breath, think, respond from strength. And remember that you always have a choice, always. Chapter 8. Stop needing approval and focus on your path. One of the biggest reasons people never become who they could be is because they spend too much of their life trying to be who others want them to be. They walk around carrying the weight of approval. They adjust their dreams to fit what's acceptable. They shrink their voice to keep others comfortable. They doubt their direction every time someone else doesn't understand it. And in doing so, they trade authenticity for acceptance. They lose themselves trying to be liked. Approval is a trap. The more you need it, the less you can grow. Because every time you wait for someone to agree with you before you take a step, you delay your life. Every time you change course because someone didn't clap, you build a future that doesn't belong to you. And no amount of validation can make up for the regret of not following your own path. You don't need permission to live your life. You don't need to explain every decision. You don't need to soften your vision just to make someone else comfortable. This is your path, your journey, your responsibility. And the more time you spend chasing approval, the more disconnected you become from your real purpose. It starts when you're young. You learn that being accepted feels good, that fitting in brings praise, that doing what's expected keeps things easy. And slowly, you stop asking what you want. You stop exploring who you really are. You start looking outward instead of inward. And if you don't wake up to it, that pattern can run your whole life. You'll choose jobs based on other people's opinions. You'll hide parts of your personality to avoid judgment. You'll avoid risks not because you lack ability, but because you're afraid someone might not approve. And all the while, you'll feel that quiet tension, the frustration of knowing you're not living your truth, the sadness of watching your potential fade in the background of someone else's expectations. Breaking free from approval doesn't mean becoming arrogant. It means becoming clear. It means living your life with direction, not based on reaction. You can respect people without needing their agreement. You can listen without obeying. You can care without conforming. That's the balance. And that's what freedom looks like. Your job isn't to convince people to support you. It's to support yourself so fully that their opinion doesn't shake your foundation. You've got to build enough belief in your direction that even when others don't see the vision, you keep moving. Not out of stubbornness, but out of alignment with who you truly are. Focus on your path, not the crowd, not the noise, not the opinions that change with the wind. Focus on your mission, on what pulls you, on what keeps showing up in your mind and won't leave you alone. That's your signal. That's your purpose speaking, and it won't go away just because others don't get it. It's easy to get distracted by what other people are doing. It's tempting to compare your progress with someone else's, but every time you look sideways, you lose focus, you lose time, you lose momentum, and all for what? To chase approval from people who are too focused on their own lives to really understand yours. You don't owe the world a performance. You don't owe them perfection. You owe yourself the truth. And that truth is, You are here for something greater than pleasing everyone. You are here to become someone strong, honest, and free. And that journey requires courage. You're going to outgrow some people. That's normal. You're going to make choices others don't understand. That's necessary. You're going to be questioned, misunderstood, doubted. That's the cost of growth. But the reward is worth it. The reward is waking up and feeling aligned. The reward is walking through life without pretending. The reward is building something real. You can't build that kind of life if you keep asking, "Will they like it?" before every move. You have to ask, "Is this right for me?" That's the question that keeps you grounded. That's the question that keeps you honest. Because at the end of the day, it's you who has to live with your choices. It's you who has to face yourself when no one's around. It's you who knows what's real and what's not. Start practicing self-approval. Approve of your growth. Approve of your decisions. Approve of your effort. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. You don't need everyone to agree. You need to agree with yourself. You need to know that you're not faking it, that you're not selling yourself out just to be accepted, that you're not bending who you are just to keep someone else close. You might lose some people. You might disappoint others. But you'll gain yourself. You'll find your voice. You'll build your strength. And the right people will respect that. They might not always understand you, but they'll see your integrity. They'll feel your clarity. And they'll know you're not living for applause. You're living for truth. Approval is temporary. Alignment is lasting. What people think of you today might change tomorrow. But what you think of yourself, that's what builds your identity. That's what determines your peace. So don't trade it away for likes, compliments, or fake harmony. Choose your direction. Protect your values. Stand in your truth. The people who inspire the world are not the ones who fit in. They're the ones who stayed honest when it would have been easier to pretend. They're the ones who stayed focused when the world told them to change course. They're the ones who refused to chase the crowd and instead carved their own way. That's not easy. It takes discipline. It takes self-respect. It takes the willingness to be alone at times. But that space where you're not chasing anyone, not performing for anyone, that's where you find clarity. That's where you get to know yourself. That's where the right opportunities begin to show up. Don't spend another year living someone else's version of success. Don't shrink to fit a mold that was never meant for you. Don't say yes when your heart says no. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to become who you're capable of becoming. And that only happens when you stop looking for approval and start following your purpose. You've got everything you need already inside you. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be validated. You need to be honest. Honest about what you want. Honest about what's not working. Honest about where you're headed. That honesty will guide you better than any compliment ever will. So make a decision. Not a loud one. Not a dramatic one. A quiet, steady decision to stop giving so much power to people who don't walk your path. A decision to stop asking for permission. A decision to live your life fully, clearly, and without guilt. You are enough. Your path is worthy, and your future is waiting. But it can only be built by someone bold enough to stop performing and start living. Walk it, own it, live it without apology. Chapter 9. Give full effort even when you feel tired. The days you feel tired are the days that matter most. It's easy to give effort when everything is going your way, when you're well rested, motivated, and full of energy. But life doesn't test you on those days. Life measures your commitment. When nothing feels perfect, when your body aches, when your mind is foggy, when you're emotionally worn out, that's where character shows up. That's where growth happens. That's where the foundation of real success is built. By showing up fully when you feel like shutting down. Tired doesn't mean you quit. Tired doesn't mean you coast. Tired doesn't mean you disappear. It means you dig deeper. It means you choose to stay consistent even when comfort begs you to take a break. You're not weak because you feel drained. You're human, but effort isn't based on energy. Effort is based on choice. You either make the decision to push through, or you allow how you feel to decide your results. Most people wait until they feel right to give their best. That's why they never find consistency. They give based on emotion, not on values. But values don't change based on how you feel. If you say you're committed to something, your effort should reflect that, even when the conditions aren't ideal. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. You've got to stop negotiating with tiredness. Stop giving in to that voice that says, "Take it easy. You've done enough." You don't rise by always doing just enough. You rise by doing more than you feel like doing. That extra push, that extra 10%, that's what separates the average from the excellent. Not talent, not luck. Consistent, deliberate, full effort, even when it's inconvenient. That doesn't mean you ignore your need for rest. It means you know the difference between real rest and emotional avoidance. You know the difference between needing to recover and using tiredness as an excuse to procrastinate. You can be exhausted and still move forward. You can be overwhelmed and still show up. You can feel low energy and still deliver value. It just takes a decision, one decision, over and over. Effort is not about doing more than others. It's about doing what you said you would, regardless of how the day feels. It's about being reliable, not just to the world, but to yourself. You're teaching yourself something every time you follow through. You're telling your brain that your word matters, that your promises are not empty, that your future is being built on something solid. There will be moments when nothing around you pushes you forward, when no one texts to check in, when you don't hear applause, when the rewards are delayed. Those are the moments that shape who you become. If you only work hard when you're motivated, you'll stay stuck in cycles of short progress. But if you decide that effort is a constant, no matter the mood, you become powerful. Think about the version of you you're trying to create. That person doesn't need perfect energy every day. They need habits that work. They need standards that are higher than excuses. They need a mindset that shows up, not just for results, but for growth. The you you're becoming is built in the unseen hours, in the quiet routines, in the uncomfortable push through fatigue. That's the work that counts. Don't wait to feel like giving effort. Feelings are unreliable. They shift. They rise and fall. If you train yourself to only move when you feel good, your life will be unpredictable and unstable. But if you learn to give full effort even when your emotions say stop, you build strength that lasts. You build a life that doesn't collapse every time you hit resistance. When you feel tired, it's tempting to slow everything down. To say, "I'll try again tomorrow." But you don't always get tomorrow. The opportunity is now. The momentum is now. And momentum doesn't care about how you feel. It cares about what you do. If you stop when it's hard, you break the rhythm. If you show up regardless, you keep your growth alive. You won't remember the days you coasted, but you will remember the days you didn't give up, the days you pushed through, the days you finished the workout, the project, the goal, even when you didn't have all your strength. That's pride. That's self-respect. That's how you become someone you admire. You don't owe anyone perfection, but you owe yourself your best. Even a tired best, even a quiet best, even a slow best. Because giving your full effort doesn't always look impressive. Sometimes it looks like showing up when it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it looks like staying focused for one more hour. Sometimes it looks like refusing to quit on a day when everything feels heavy. Stop waiting for ideal conditions. They don't exist. There will always be something in the way. Stress, distraction, emotions, fatigue. That's not a sign to stop. That's a sign to rise. To push past the mental noise, to prove to yourself that you are not ruled by your feelings, that you are stronger than your tiredness. Take a deep breath. Refocus. Ask yourself, what can I give right now? Then give that. Don't overthink. Don't compare. Don't judge. Just give. Effort is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. The more often you cross that bridge, especially on the hard days, the closer you get to becoming someone who doesn't quit. That's how confidence grows. That's how your vision becomes reality. Not through rare sparks of motivation, but through consistent effort. Even on the days that feel slow, messy, and imperfect. You want real change. Give real effort. Not just when you feel good, but especially when you don't. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just at a point where you have to make a choice. Are you going to let your energy decide your future? Or are you going to decide your future? Then align your effort with that decision. Tired or not, the people who win don't win, because they're always full of energy. They win because they've trained themselves to stay committed no matter what. They've trained their mind to show up when it's tempting to check out. They've trained their body to move even when it aches. That's not magic. That's discipline. That's the daily choice to keep going. You can do the same. You don't need to be extraordinary. You need to be consistent. You need to care enough about your future to do what's hard now. You need to hold yourself to a standard that doesn't break under pressure, that doesn't disappear on hard day, that shows up again and again because it's rooted in purpose, not emotion. So when the next tired moment comes, when your energy drops, when everything in you wants to back off, don't step in. Stay focused. Keep working. Even if it's slower, even if it's quiet, even if no one else sees it, you see it. You feel it. You know it matters. That kind of effort, especially when you're tired, is rare. But it's the kind that changes lives. It's the kind that separates excuses from progress. It's the kind that builds momentum, character, and strength that can't be shaken. Give your best even when it's not easy. Especially then, that's where real winners are made. That's where the path to wealth and happiness begins to take shape. One moment of full effort at a time. Chapter 10. Choose growth every day over staying the same. Every single day you are faced with a simple decision. Stay the same or grow. It doesn't matter what your goals are, what your background is, or what challenges you're up against. That choice is in front of you when you wake up, and what you choose shapes everything about your future. Growth is not something that just happens with time. It happens with effort, with intention, and with a personal standard that says, "Today, I will not settle for who I was yesterday." The comfort of staying the same is tempting. It feels familiar. It doesn't challenge you. It doesn't ask you to stretch. It allows you to keep your routines, your excuses, and your stories. But the cost of staying the same is far greater than the cost of change. Because staying the same keeps you stuck in the same struggles. It keeps you living below your potential. It keeps you waking up to the same frustrations, the same fears, and the same quiet voice inside you that knows you could be doing more. Growth requires effort, but more than that, it requires honesty. You can't grow if you're lying to yourself. You can't grow if you're avoiding the hard truths. You have to be willing to look at your life and say, "This is not where I want to stay." That doesn't mean you hate where you are. It means you respect yourself enough to keep moving forward. Growth is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront parts of yourself you've ignored. It asks you to let go of habits that have made you feel safe. It demands that you show up even when it's easier to hide. But every time you choose growth, you're telling yourself, "I matter. My future matters. My potential matters. And that message becomes your power. You don't need to grow all at once. You just need to grow today. That's it. Make today count. Do something that stretches you. Think better thoughts. Choose better actions. Have better conversations. Take a step that your old self would avoid. You do that, and you've already won the day. The real battle is not against failure. It's against standing still. Because when you stand still long enough, you convince yourself that this is as good as it gets, that you're too late, that it's too hard, that change isn't possible. But none of that is true. The moment you choose growth again, your life begins to shift again. You have to stop thinking of growth as a one-time thing. It's not a goal you check off. It's a lifestyle. It's how you wake up. It's how you move. It's how you respond when things don't go your way. It's how you recover from setbacks. It's in the books you read, the thoughts you repeat, the people you learn from, and the things you refuse to tolerate anymore. Growth shows up when you say no to comfort and yes to purpose. When you stop doing what's easy and start doing what's right. When you choose to show up with more energy, more focus, more intention, even if no one else sees it. That's the work that matters. That's what builds you into someone who doesn't just survive, but leads, builds, and thrives. Staying the same feels safe, but it's dangerous. Because while you're staying the same, the world is moving, opportunities are passing, time is going, and one day you'll look back and ask yourself why you waited so long, why you didn't try harder, why you didn't bet on yourself. That pain is avoidable, but only if you start now. Growth is a decision, not once, but every morning, every hour. Every time you want to give up, every time your excuses show up and sound reasonable. You either grow or you repeat. You either rise or you recycle. You either take control or you live on default. This is not about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than who you were yesterday. That's your only competition. And that's the most fulfilling race you'll ever run. Because when you focus on daily progress, you stop chasing perfection. You stop needing validation. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission. You've got to raise your own standard, not for the world, for yourself. Because your growth determines how far you go, how strong you feel, and how much value you bring to everything around you. Whether it's your work, your relationships, your health, or your mindset, growth touches it all, and you are the only one who can commit to it fully. There's nothing wrong with rest, but don't confuse rest with quitting. Don't confuse pausing with giving up. Growth means you listen to your needs, but you don't stop showing up. Even if today's version of showing up is slower, quieter, or harder than usual, what matters is that you chose to move forward. You chose growth over comfort. Again, it won't always be easy. You'll have days when you feel like you're going in circles. You'll question your progress. You'll wonder if it's working. But growth isn't always visible. It's happening in the background, in your thoughts, in your habits, in your self-respect. Keep going. The breakthrough comes to those who keep choosing it. Remind yourself often that you are not finished. You are still becoming. You are still building. You are still allowed to learn, to change, to evolve. Give yourself grace, but don't let that grace turn into excuses. Be kind to yourself, but also be honest. Are you growing, or are you just staying busy? You don't have to make massive changes every day. Just one shift, one choice that moves you forward. That's how momentum builds. That's how confidence grows. That's how transformation starts. Not with loud moves, but with quiet consistency. Pay attention to the stories you tell yourself. If the story is full of doubt, fear, or hesitation, it will keep you stuck. Change the story. Make it about growth. Make it about possibility. Make it about someone who refused to settle, someone who got tired of their own excuses, someone who decided to take their power back. Not next year, but today. There will always be a reason to stay the same, always a reason to delay. But if you want something more for your life, you have to stop entertaining those reasons. You have to put your future above your feelings. You have to show up and keep showing up, not because it's easy, but because you're worth it. This is your life, not a rehearsal, not a draft. This is the real thing. And every day you choose to grow, you become more of the person you were designed to be, more focused, more capable, more alive. So, choose it. Choose growth every morning, every night, in small moments and big decisions. Choose the action that moves you forward. Choose the habit that builds you. Choose the path that makes you proud, not just today, but 5 years from now. That's how you build a life. That's how you create real success, not with shortcuts, but with daily decisions. And when you do it long enough, growth stops being a chore. It becomes who you are. Keep becoming, keep evolving, keep growing. Even when it's slow, even when it's quiet, even when no one notices yet. Because the ones who grow every day, no matter how they feel, are the ones who end up with everything they once thought was out of reach.